It's a quiet evening. You're relaxing on the sofa, and your dog is sleeping peacefully at your feet. All is calm. Then, in an instant, it happens. Their head snaps up, their eyes go wide, and they explode into a whirlwind of motion. They tear through the living room, bank hard off the armchair, sprint down the hallway, and then circle back, their paws scrambling for traction on the floor. Their back is arched, their tail is tucked, and they move with a frantic, almost chaotic energy. You might laugh and call it the Zoomies. You might think they're just being silly, or that they have a sudden burst of playful energy. But what if I told you this behavior isn't just a funny quirk? What if it's one of the most important signals your dog can give you about their inner emotional state? That sudden, explosive burst of energy that most of us call the Zoomies has a scientific name: Frenetic Random Activity Periods, or FRAPs for short. And animal behaviorists have studied them for decades. What they've discovered is that these episodes are far more profound than simple, goofy fun. They are a critical, biological mechanism that your dog uses to manage its own mind. When you see your dog having a Zoomie, you are not watching a moment of silliness. You are watching a powerful act of self-regulation. You are watching your dog process intense emotions in the only way its instincts know how. To understand this, we first need to let go of our human interpretation. We see frantic energy, and we often think it means one of two things. Either our dog is incredibly happy, or they're bored and need to burn off excess physical energy. While excitement and pent-up energy can certainly be factors, they are not the whole story. The truth is that a FRAP is an emotional discharge. Think of your dog's nervous system like a battery. Throughout the day, different experiences add charge to it. A happy experience, like you coming home from work, adds a big jolt of positive charge. But a stressful experience, like a loud thunderstorm, a visit to the vet, or even something as simple as a bath, adds a jolt of negative, anxious charge. Both overwhelming joy and high anxiety stress can fill that battery to its absolute limit. When that internal emotional pressure becomes too much to handle, your dog's body needs a way to release it. And fast. The Zoomie is that release valve. It's a physical explosion designed to instantly reset the nervous system and bring your dog back to a state of emotional balance. It's the canine equivalent of a human needing to pace back and forth when they're on a stressful phone call, or shaking their hands out after a near miss in traffic. It's a primal, physical response to an overwhelming internal state. The energy has to go somewhere, and this is why you so often see FRAPs happen at very specific, predictable times. These moments are the most common triggers, because they represent a peak of emotional accumulation. Let's look at the top three, starting with the one every dog owner knows: the post-bath Zoomie. Your dog has just endured something they likely find unpleasant. They've been confined, handled, soaked with water, and scrubbed. This whole experience builds up a significant amount of stress and nervous energy. The moment you release them from the tub, and they shake off that last bit of water, it's not just water they are shaking off. They are shaking off the entire stressful event. The Zoomie that follows is a massive, cathartic release of all that pent-up anxiety and relief. It's a way for them to physically leave the stressful experience behind, resetting their emotional state from tense and anxious to free and relieved. They aren't running around because they're suddenly clean and happy. They're running to discharge the stress of the process they just went through. The second major trigger is one we often misinterpret as pure joy: the welcome home Zoomie. You walk through the door after being gone all day. Your dog is overcome with excitement and happiness. They greet you with wags and licks. But then, they suddenly take off, racing around the house. We see this and think, wow, they are so happy to see me. And they are. But the emotion is so intense, so overwhelming, that it floods their system. They literally cannot contain the sheer joy and anticipation that has been building up. That frenetic dash around the living room is their way of managing that emotional overflow. It allows them to vent the sheer intensity of the happy excitement so they can calm down enough to actually interact with you in a more measured way. It's a happiness so big, it has to be released physically. Both of these triggers, post-bath relief and greeting excitement, are about discharging a sudden, intense emotional spike. But there is another common trigger that is far more subtle, and it reveals something much deeper about your dog's daily emotional needs. It doesn't happen after a big, obvious event. It often happens at the same time every single night. Many owners call it the evening crazies. It's that predictable time, usually an hour or two before bed, when a perfectly calm dog will suddenly get up and start a full-blown FRAP, seemingly for no reason at all. There was no bath, no greeting at the door, No obvious trigger. So what is really happening here? This specific type of Zoomie isn't about releasing a single, overwhelming emotion from one event. It's about releasing the accumulated stress of the entire day. Think about your dog's day from their perspective. They may have been bored, understimulated, or left alone for hours. Perhaps they heard unsettling noises from outside, like construction, or another dog barking, which created low-level anxiety. Perhaps they heard unsettling noises from outside, like construction, or another dog barking, which created low-level anxiety. Each one of these moments is a tiny pebble dropped into their emotional bucket. By the end of the day, that bucket is full, and the evening Zoomie is your dog's crucial way of emptying it all out, wiping the slate clean so they can truly rest. It's a vital act of daily mental hygiene. But what if the Zoomie isn't wiping the slate clean? What if it's a sign that the slate is already cracked? For most dogs, a FRAP is a sign of a healthy nervous system. But sometimes, it's a distress signal. It's a symptom that your dog's internal world is so overwhelmed, so chronically overstimulated, that this explosive release is the only thing they can do to keep from drowning in anxiety. How can you tell the difference between a healthy release and a cry for help? This is where we must look closer, because a Zoomie can be a mask for a deeper problem: compulsion. A healthy Zoomie is finite. It has a beginning, a middle, and a clear end. The dog runs wild, burns off the emotional fuel, and then they stop, panting, looking happy and settled. But a compulsive Zoomie is different. It feels stuck. The dog may run in rigid patterns, like a tight circle, or a frantic back-and-forth path along a fence line. They seem unable to stop, even when they are visibly exhausted. They aren't running with joy. They're running from something inside their own head. This type of FRAP isn't emptying the stress bucket. It's just stirring the contents around. The dog gets no lasting relief from it. This is a behavior that is tipped over from a useful self-regulation tool into a symptom of chronic, unresolved anxiety, or even canine obsessive-compulsive disorder. The key difference is the emotional state during the Zoomie. Is your dog's body loose and wiggly, or is it tense and rigid? Look at their face. A happy Zoomie has what trainers call a soft face, relaxed jaw, floppy ears, and a joyful glint in their eyes. A compulsive Zoomie is often accompanied by a hard face, a pinned-back ears, a tight mouth, and wide, staring eyes that seem to see nothing. This isn't a release anymore. This is a panic attack in motion. And the most frightening sign of all is when the Zoomie is triggered by things that should be calm. If a falling leaf can cause this meltdown, what are we really looking at? This isn't just an overreaction. It's a coded message, a silent scream. But here's the most disturbing part. What if we, the owners, are the ones writing the code? What if our own hidden stresses are being transmitted to our dogs, turning their healthy releases into frantic cries for help? We now know that this isn't just a psychological theory. It's a biological fact. Scientists have discovered a phenomenon known as emotional contagion between humans and dogs, an invisible leash that tethers your emotional state directly to theirs. How do we know this? The proof is not in their behavior, but in their very fur. A groundbreaking study measured the long-term stress hormone, cortisol, in the hair of both dogs and their owners over several months. The results were astonishing. The cortisol levels in the dog's fur almost perfectly mirrored the cortisol levels found in their owner's hair. When the owner was chronically stressed, the dog was chronically stressed. When the owner was relaxed, the dog was relaxed. The dogs were literally absorbing our stress. But how? What is the mechanism for this silent transfer? It's not just about you raising your voice or acting erratically. The signals are far more subtle and far more constant. It's in the scent you emit when your own cortisol levels are high, a chemical signature of anxiety that your dog can smell as clearly as we can smell smoke. It's in the subtle stiffening of your posture, the microscopic changes in your facial expression, the increased pace of your heartbeat, which your dog can feel when they lie next to you. You may think you're having a quiet, internal crisis, but to your dog, you are a walking, talking thunderstorm of anxiety. They are living inside your emotional weather pattern. So that frantic, compulsive Zoomie that seems to come from nowhere, it may not be a reaction to a falling leaf. It could be a reaction to the email that made your heart pound 3 hours ago. It could be the physical manifestation of the argument you had with your partner last night, an argument the dog is still feeling the echoes of. This reframes the entire question. We move from asking, "What is wrong with my dog?" to a far more uncomfortable and far more important question: what is wrong with me? Are you unknowingly using your dog as an emotional sponge? Is their frantic running a desperate attempt to wring out the stress that you yourself have soaked them in? And if so, what other, less obvious behaviors are also coded messages about our own inner turmoil? The way they chew their paws, the way they bark at shadows, the way they refuse to eat? Could these all be symptoms of our own unmanaged anxiety? The Zoomie is just the most explosive, most visible symptom. It's the tip of an emotional iceberg, and we've been looking at it all wrong. But this isn't a story about blame. It's a story about hope, because that invisible leash, the one that tethers your anxiety to your dog, it is not a one-way street. If our stress can flow down that leash, then so can our calm. So can our healing. The cure for the dog's frantic run doesn't begin with a trainer or a behaviorist. It begins with a single, conscious breath taken by you. It begins the moment you stop seeing your dog's behavior as a problem to be fixed and start seeing it as a conversation to be had. A conversation about the emotional weather you are creating in your home. This is the profound responsibility and the incredible opportunity of living with another sentient being. They are our biofeedback, a living, breathing mirror to our own internal state. We don't have to eliminate stress from our lives to save our dogs. We simply have to manage our response to it. To choose a quiet moment of connection over a distracted scroll through our phone. To consciously unclench our jaw. To soften our shoulders. To offer a touch that is grounded and calm, not frantic and placating. When we do this, we rewrite the code. The frantic Zoomie may not disappear overnight, but its emotional charge begins to fade. The panic recedes, replaced by something softer. The silent scream becomes a quiet breath. The frantic run to escape becomes a joyful run towards connection. They aren't just an emotional sponge. They are our partners in healing. They are a constant, gentle invitation to return to the present moment, to find the peace within ourselves, so that we may offer it to them. This is the ultimate expression of the human-animal bond, not just companionship, but a shared journey towards balance. We think we are giving them a home, but they are giving us a chance to come home to ourselves. To truly understand the animal in your house, you must first understand the animal within you. This is the journey we are on. Join the conversation. Subscribe